back at what has been accomplished in that 10 years and where we've gone in that 10 years, it's amazing. There was maybe 5 or 6 of us that started meeting around Nancy's kitchen table. And after we got that $6,300 donation, we took that little bit of money that fall and we went back to Yolich and we bought medicine. And Ola's little sister died there because there was no medicine. And I will never forget, what we bought went in the trunk of a car.
It's always malnourished, just a look in their eyes that you can't describe. It was a faraway look.
I still think dark. It was so dark and so cold, and there were these long, dark hallways with maybe one light bulb, maybe none. I think our main goal at the first was just to prevent things like that from happening, to be there as kind of a stopgap for those emergency situations.
There's 2 toilets in here, of which only one works. And they said this bathroom right here has to take care of about 30 to 40 kids.
To be there so that there would be somebody that cared, somebody that could provide that penicillin, somebody that could buy the socks so that their feet wouldn't be cold. Just very basic, just survival, really. Just basic survival things is what we started out with.
How many trips have you made here?
This is my 6th trip.
Why do you keep coming back?
Because I love them. I mean, look at her.
Someone might think it's grotesque and not want to hold or touch. A lot of people would, but you don't? Why not?
I don't know, I just feel like if Jesus was here, he'd love her too.
See, we started with this baby house that had 190 some odd little people, and that's all any of us had really ever seen. And then after a trip or so there, then they say, oh, we need to take you out to Straganovka. So we go out to Straganovka, and then lo and behold, there's a whole nother big concrete building full of little kids. And we went there for a time or two, and we were kind of beginning, and they say, oh, we need to take you out to Gardetskiy. And we drove for 35 minutes out into the countryside, and we pulled up to this horrible ramshackle building. You've seen it. And we opened the door, and there were 300 and some odd of them in there. And it was like, where do we even begin?
Everywhere you turn, there's another orphanage. We're in one area of Ukraine, a city that has about 1 million people, probably about the same size of Louisville. But if you look across the whole country, they have orphanages like we have schools here in Jefferson County. They're everywhere you turn.
This mission, this group really fills in what I believe deep down in my core is that one person can make a difference.
Oh, the organization is about, it's about God using people who are just plain ordinary people. Kathy never thought that we could do anything like this. Jeff had the idea, they tried it, and God just kept pouring people, pouring money, and it's been just amazing.
Typical?
This is very typical.
I mean, when you walk in, it's a what smell?
It is just a urine stain on odor. It almost reminds me of like walking in the Humane Society. It has that smell of just urine in the air.
Trip Pottinger came home saying, we've got to replace those beds. We've got to replace those beds. But we didn't have the money to replace those beds, and it was going to be $20,000. And we talked about it as a board, and we said, okay, we'll see where we can find that much money, and we'll work on getting it. 2 days after that board meeting, we opened the mailbox, and there's a letter from a gentleman who says, my wife and I are celebrating our 25th wedding anniversary, and in honor of that, we have written you a check for $25,000. We needed 27 for the beds. God's work, God's way, God's love.
Do you remember when we filmed and went out and saw what happens to the kids when they leave? They go to the streets.
Where are we, Jeff?
I have no clue, but I'm scared to death.
Orphans here in Ukraine are second-class citizens. They are considered lower than most people, beneath the average citizen. And when they get out of the orphanage system, they do literally go underground. They live beneath apartment buildings, down in the sewer systems. It is a secret society of street children. But there's no place to go, no other place for you at all.
Тебе некуда пойти, получается. No, I have no place to go.
Seeing the contrast of the kids on the streets followed by the happiness of the kids in the transition home. It was literally the same. That was such a stark contrast to see where they could have been. I remember the first transition home that was young ladies. There were several that they were so timid, they didn't even want to talk to you. They had a hard time even looking you in the eye. And then to come back now and see them after they've left the transition home, to come back and just, they're a grown adult now. I think one's getting ready to get married. It's just really awesome thing to see how God's worked in their lives.
It was good, but it's better. And it's getting better and getting better and getting better. And they talked about the girls coming back and having dinner with them, and some of them are going to college, and just that, those are things that when I was there in 96 and 99, abysmal was the word that I thought.
The floor is unsafe and the kids walk over it every day. The impact this community of Louisville has made has saved, you can't even put a number on it. I don't know if it's hundreds, I don't know if it's thousands, but it's touched their lives. There's no question about that.
There are several thousand children around the world in different places that wake up every day better off physically and spiritually because of those people around Nancy's kitchen table.
The way that we look at it is a child no matter where they are. They could be in Afghanistan, they could be in India, they could be in Ukraine. If they're hungry, they're hungry. If they're cold, they're cold. If they don't have a coat to wear in the wintertime, it's just, and we can provide that, then we would like to be able to help as many children as we can.
Click on your computer and it says, hello, you've got mail. And it's a young man named Samuel Thang from Myanmar who says, I've seen your organization on the internet. I've looked at your website. Let me tell you about what I'm doing. I need your help.
Mission is not even close to being accomplished. Every time we as a board start getting, I guess the word is comfortable with where we're at, it seems like God lays another opportunity before us. And we start looking and it's like, well, we just keep following. We've always followed God's lead, and when those opportunities present themselves, the first thing we do is pray. The second thing we do as a board is we ask, can we make this commitment to go deep? When we make a decision as a board, we're looking at the entire life cycle of a child.
So our focus now is, yes, it's the physical, and yes, it's to feed you, and yes, it's to clothe you, but we are very intentional now in partnering with ministries who do that specifically to be able to share the good news of Jesus Christ. Because it will do us no good to send a lot of healthy, fat, well-dressed children to hell. It's an amazing testimony of God's faithfulness that volunteers have filled blessing bags year after year after year, that they fill a room at Southeast to put labels and stamps on, and I just think that they've hung in there with us, and we've been able to make this kind of difference. It's just truly amazing.
I remember the babies in the cribs and just, how pitiful they appeared in the pictures. Actually, I remember your story and, seeing you go on the trip and had the little child that you connected with, and just the emotion of that, but just how, you can make a difference in a child's life.
Have you ever had a time in your life when someone asks you something and you want to just say out loud, are you talking to me? Because it was like, I'm afraid. I don't do these type of things. And I said, Kathy, I'm afraid to fly to Florida, much less the Ukraine. And she looked at me and said, well, you're good news. We're not flying to Florida. We're flying to the Ukraine.
This is our vast room.
Trish.
And there are no
bed bugs
in here. That is it. Signing off.
You know, you see the pictures at the dinners, but it brought it all to life. You just don't really experience it until you're there. When our bus pulled up and we all got out of the bus, all their faces filled the windows, waiting for us to come in. The concrete buildings, when we walked in the lobbies, you know, you'd look down these long hallways, and I saw the cement walls, the cement floors, and then they'd lead us up to rooms, you know, full of children. And some of the children, like Carla said, were very reserved and didn't show much emotion, but there were many that, you know, were just so excited that you were there. You know, I try to share with my family, you know, their stories, because all those faces have stories. We don't know what all the stories are. We know some of them, you know, when we were there, but you know, I shut my eyes, I see those faces, I'm awake and I see those faces. Each person makes a difference. You know, $5, $20, $200, $2,500, $25,000. It all adds up and makes a difference. The money, the blessing bag trip, the things in those bags, watches. One little boy opened up his bag, he was 15, and his hands trembled as he opened up the watch, because he said, all my life I've wanted a watch.
This is that group of 300 to 400 people that come together once a year and make this happen. And she's as important as I am, you're as important as Ray is. We've all made a commitment, and now you're going to follow through with it. Or you're going to tell me why.
I think it's just exciting to see what has happened over 10 years and that it does make a difference.
To think that we are a face that people all over the world think of and depend on, it's a miracle.